Welcome in, guys. Welcome back to Well on Second Entertainment. Here with another special video. Today is a viewer suggested video that I do, and that being exactly what we are playing today, Gold Mining Simulator. This video is a beginning tutorial of how to play this game from the ground up, beginners only, geared strictly to people who have never played this game before, who want a guide, at least in my opinion, the most efficient way of playing this. Getting straight into it. So, first off, you need the land itself. As to what map in this game to buy or lease is strictly up to you guys. The game's tutorial will show you how to do that, so I will not be doing that here myself. Next up on the docket. Starting off, we're going to work our way down the equipment that you need and my opinions on them, and I have even gone through and done the pricing for you. Please do note, pricing in this game is dynamic. It does vary, being from equipment to just the basics. That's what you need. The prices vary. So, starting off, you do need one of the very first few things that I would buy is jerry cans. Jerry cans run, I want to say, about $11 a piece. Please do note that the pricing that I am giving you is from the pricing currently in my save game at the time of recording. Prices vary. What I recommend is getting 6. You could get more, you could get less. I highly recommend 6 because that's enough fuel. They hold about 5 liters, or essentially about 5 gallons of fuel. Do note that everything in this game runs off of diesel, not gasoline. Prices are different. So that's going to run you roughly about $86. I will put up on the screen a list of prices and what you are going to spend at the end. Do note that there is a $1 mode in this game, so everything costs $1, give or take. So there are some stuff that I would highly recommend buying in the $1 mode versus that, but we'll get that later. So 6 jerry cans, and I would highly recommend two of these transport containers. I never looked at the pricing of those. They're fairly cheap. Don't worry about the pricing of those. I'd highly suggest getting 2 of these. Moving on. Okay. A generator. I would highly recommend buying this regardless of whether you're going to use this right straight off the beginning or not. You will need one of these. To me, it's just better thing to have this and not need it than need it and not have it. There's a reason why later on the end. I would highly recommend getting one of these. I forgot to write down the price of this. I'll put this up here on the screen. Now, again, I would highly recommend buying this regardless whether you are going to use it straight off the bat or not. The generator itself, again, prices vary. I'll keep saying that. Prices vary. $330. That's the price I have at it currently. These things are a lifesaver. Just buy one regardless. Next. Coming up to your water. Water, you need water regardless of what you are doing. Whether you're later on, whether you're washing, using gold separating equipment. This video will not have gold separating equipment in this. This is beginners only. I am assuming from this point here, you are panning your gold at the end. So, right straight up, you're going to need your water pump. Diesel water pump, there's a reason why I would say buy this, like, right out of the gate. There's a reason why later on. But so you could, in theory, annex this. It's just, I'm assuming in the aspect that you're not going to annex this or omit it, however you want to say, is because Omitting this essentially makes you work 3 times harder. I don't recommend it. I've played this game probably the better part of a little over 100 hours now. Just buy this. This is the easiest way of doing this, regardless of which way you look at this. So, the small pump is going to run you $220. It's not bad. So, right after that, I would highly recommend buying 2 of these, regardless. The small thin hoses. The thin hoses would run you about $50 a piece. $50 a piece for $100 here. Okay. Now, here is where you can omit these. This is a complete option depending on how you go for your gold catching equipment. Okay. These hoses right here, the water splitter, and the connector. Okay. The large red hoses, I would highly recommend buying 3 of them. So 3 of them will run you $172 a piece. Well, as for the 3, $172. The water splitter is $132 for one of them. You technically only really need 1 early on in the game. And the 2 hose, so you're gonna need 2 of these. I guess I would recommend 2 of these, but technically you really only need 1. So just off the basis of 2 of them, $143. You could, in theory, knock all this out right here, like this, and these 3. That would actually knock, I want to say, close to $500 off the top, close to it, but it's not that bad. Like, it does make a difference, like it really does early on in the game, but I would say get it, but that's up to you. That depends on how you want to go with your gold catching equipment. Not to mention your gold catching equipment. Now, this is really where things are going to vary on how much you're going to spend. Okay. So now, if you want to go basic, this right here is your most basic thing. This is the hog pan. So straight off the bat, this is probably the most cost-effective way of actually getting into mining, but it's also probably the slowest. And when I say slow, I mean slow. But if you want to build up through the game, learning how to gold mine, this is it. This is the beginning. This is as cheap as possible. All in for everything you see here is $578. Now, here's the thing, okay? That's in the aspect of how many mats you buy. There are 8 mats here. This is what I recommend. The 8 mats in and of themselves will run you $281. With just buying 4 mats just to get this whole thing running, just buying 4 mats, you're only saving $108. So with buying just the equipment that you see here and 4 mats is going to run you $470 versus $578. So technically you're only saving $108 here by going with this, with 4 instead of 8. Now, this is the way I would recommend most people going, but here's the thing, that's not how everyone plays. So that's up to you guys. Now, something, no matter which way you go, regardless whether it's with this or some form of wash plant, you're going to need buckets. This is one of those things you cannot do without. End of story. These are ingrained into almost every aspect of your play. You have to have buckets, and you cannot skimp on how many you have. Right off the rip, I would recommend buying 12. 12 is going to run you $75 to $5 a piece. There we go. Now, if you do not want to go this route, I would highly recommend you do, because it's kind of game breaking if you don't. But regardless, you could go with one of 2 options. That being one of these 2 right here. You have your mini wash plant right here, and you have your mobile wash plant right here. you could go with either one of these two options. The mini wash plant is $990 right here, give or take. Again, all prices vary depending on your save file. This game does have an actual built-in economy. The mobile wash plant is $6,050. Again, prices vary. So, here's the thing. This thing right here, see, here's the thing. Okay, let me put it to you this way here. If you go with either of these two options right here, you have to have heavy equipment to operate these. You cannot operate these by hand. You have to have heavy equipment. Now, here's the thing. Also, if you go with this, this takes the generator. So if you go with this, you cannot omit the generator. You can technically omit the generator. That's just a suggestion for me early on if you go with like that option over there. The hog pan, you can omit the generator to save a little bit of money up front. Again, $330 for the generator. But now if you go with this, you cannot omit the generator. You have to have the generator to run. It does not have its own built-in generator like this does. This has its own generator built onto the back of it, so it powers itself. It just needs a water source. Now, this here will not process material as fast or as efficiently as this. This here will process material a lot more efficiently than that will. Starting to rain. So it depends on you, on how you want to do this. Now, there is something that if you get into equipment going with this route, there is one thing I can tell you straight up that you cannot do without. And that is this right here. A fuel trailer. Matter of fact, if you actually go with either of these options here and get into the equipment, you have, in my opinion, okay, this is just my opinion, you can do it however you want, you cannot go without a fuel trailer. A fuel trailer will run you $4,180, give or take, depending on your save file's economy. A fuel trailer is an absolute necessity once you have heavy equipment. Now, this other trailer right here, this is a transport trailer. This is the big transport trailer. I did not write the price down of this because this is one of the things I would recommend you buying during the $1 mode. Like, so back when I said the jerry cans, this is what I would buy before the jerry cans. And I would buy this straight up during the $1 mode because, in my opinion, without the trailer, you're kind of screwed. So this is something I would buy right off the rip. This is the first thing I would buy, is this right here. Just buy that in the $1 mode, buy that first. Do it as its own separate transaction. Now back to this. This, moment you get into heavy equipment, this is what I would buy. Heavy equipment. You can go one of two ways in depending on how you go with your wash plant. And this is if you go the wash plant route. If you're going with the mini, I would also go with the mini. That is assuming you have the right DLCs. I'll get to that in a bit. Now, this is if you're going with the mini wash plant, I would probably go with the mini excavator. I have done this a little bit different ways, but this is just my recommendations for new players. If you're going with the mini wash plant, get the mini excavator. The mini excavator will run you $5,500. Now, if you go with the mobile wash plant, this excavator here is what I would buy. This is the 270, but now it's also known in the store or at the equipment shop as the small excavator. This will run you $16,500. Again, if you are going with the mobile wash plant, this is what I would get. The mobile wash plant can process material so fast that this is kind of inefficient. Matter of fact, this right here is kind of slightly inefficient in of itself. The large excavator, in my opinion, is almost a little too excessive for the mobile wash plant. This is, to me, is kind of the middle ground. Like, this is where it's just efficient enough that it works because of how fast the mobile wash plant can burn through material. So again, if you guys go the route of with a powered wash plant, this is the route you have to go. And you have to get, at least in my opinion, the fuel trailer. Now, do know, okay, going into the aspect of these right here, the mini equipment and the mini wash plant is its own DLC for the game. You cannot use these without the DLC. Now, I am doing this in the route that I'm assuming that you pretty much bought all the DLCs that you can. I was also asked for the second part of this video to actually show you guys how to set this equipment up. Okay, so to kick things off for equipment assembly, so we're going to start off with the hog pan here. And it's actually not that hard. It requires a couple of things. Okay, so I always recommend getting the hog pan with the pump attachment. Yes, it is getting a bit dark out here, so I would highly recommend going with the hog pan with the pump. This is to me, the most efficient way of running one of these. Okay, now to assemble this, you need the sluice box core. Okay, so the sluice box core is $55. So you grab this here. Now, you cannot assemble this in just anywhere. You have to assemble it in the very designated area for this to work. Okay. The extension is $110. Altogether, it's actually not that expensive. I believe I mentioned it earlier as to how much this was, with 4 mats, it being $470. So you have to put the core down first, then the extension after. Then you grab the main portion of it and you put it on top, right there, of the core. Obviously, I have a lot more here because I ran this like crazy. You pick up your 4 mats and you just place them down. If anyone is wondering, I'm doing this on PC. I use a controller. Once you got that, okay, you're going to want, at bare minimum, 1 hose. You gotta find your water source. It's right here, okay? Okay, so you're gonna place this here. You're gonna grab your pump. I would recommend, like, say, like right here. Oh shit, that'd be spilling fuel everywhere. Right there. Okay. Okay, so now these have an in and an outside to them. They are labeled. As you can see right there in the red, it says in or it says out right there. Goes. Hook it up there. You just walk down to your water source. It lays out your pipe or your hose, wherever you want to go. And you just hit drop. And there you go. You just drop the end in the water right there, and that's where it sucks it up. Now, you can do it without this. Okay. So essentially what they're doing is they're essentially kind of running this thing like it has a cap on the output side. What you can do is right off these back nipples right there and right there. On these pumps, there technically is enough pressure, and this is in real life, on the input side that it can actually create pressure. Hook up to that. And right to the back of that. I just have a preference for doing that. And you anchor over. And then you're running. Just like that. Now, I'm assuming that you guys have followed the tutorial for how to dig and stuff like that. I'm just showing you how to set up the equipment as to how I do. Now, if you wanted to go with the... Now, here's the thing. You can take them off. The B button right there. Go wind them back up. Now, assuming that you guys want to use this, the water split, you have to have a second hose. Come over to the output side. Hook it to that. Run out a little bit of length of hose. Hook it to that. Now, the water splitter can take the amount of water, the amount of volume and gallons per minute, and split it down to 4 outputs of these. That is useful for later on. And then you hook it to the back, and there you go. Yeah, the hog pan, in my opinion, is the most cost-effective and best way to learn overall. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you how to set up a wash plant. Now, here's the thing. I am not going to show the big wash plants that if you've ever seen the show Gold Rush, this is what this game is based off. I am not going to show how to set up a fixed in place wash plant because that is definitely not for beginners. So I am going to show how to set up a mobile wash plant. The process is very similar to the mini wash plant without the generator. So, getting right off onto it, obviously this thing has to be on a more or less level ground, but this should do for here. Okay. So, I generally like to keep the generator in a place relatively out of way of wherever I'm going to be working. So, just place the generator over there. You will need a high voltage cable. So, okay. Yeah. They also need to be on level ground too. So, these have 2 high voltage outlets and 1 low voltage. The low voltage is for powering stuff like the gold separating equipment or lighting and stuff like that. The high voltage is for running wash plants. Plug it in there. Walk out a good amount of your cabling. And you plug it in there. Right next to the power button, you will have the blue one that matches that, just like over on the generator. That is where you plug in your power to operate your motor, the shaker for the duplex jig that's built underneath these. Yeah, this is all an all-in-one, essentially. It's, you dump your dirt in the top, it goes through the trommel down to the duplex jig below. All this tailings go out this right here, and all the big rocks and whatnot come out the bottom here. Now, you need a water pump, just like anything else. I highly recommend putting these somewhere near a water source, hence right here. Obviously, setting up a water pump exactly the same way as I said earlier. Follow the same steps, and you're good to go. Now, same idea. Do you need to run the water splitter? Technically, no. But I imagine if you're running one of these, you're going to be out in your field, just like I have my own mine working right up there. No water source near it, so you are technically forced to run this. So if you're running a mobile, you are more than likely going to be running the water splitter. So take that off of there. I would recommend putting something like this right here. Again, this is just to show you guys how to set this up. You guys will have to figure out where this stuff is going to be setting on your own. Now, does that have to go on there in any order? No, you can put them on there however you want. Run your water hose over. Now, water hose hookup is right there. Once you got that on, come back over. Water will start to flow. Pick iron generator. Hit the start button right there. And there goes your salt. So, yes, I put a little bit of dirt in there just to show you guys. So, now, I would highly always recommend keeping this thing either completely level or just ever so slightly downhill. Very, very slightly. But just for the sake of it. Now, here's the thing. A bucket has to be right there the entire time. It'll show you, it shows you the outline right there. That is where all of your gold-bearing dirt is going to be. It's always going to have black sand in it, yada, yada, yada. That's for later. Now, these buckets will not fill up as fast on a mobile versus a mini. The minis are fairly inefficient. It does not collect all the gold. This doesn't either, but it collects a lot more of it, so that what is in this bucket is more concentrated than what is in that comes out of a mini. The mobiles are more efficient than the minis. But yeah, that is how you set up one of these. That brings that to conclusion for this video. I know it was probably kind of fast-paced, but I didn't want to make this, you know, like an hour-plus video. So I kept it short, sweet, simple, to the point. You guys can obviously go back, watch how I did things a couple times, how to set stuff up. It's not that hard, really. It's actually quite a self-explanatory game. It does give you a lot of prompts to make sure you're doing things the right way. Highly suggest following them. And I bid you guys adieu. I thank you for joining. For any comments you guys leave, I am more than glad to make videos like this as I can. And if you guys have any ideas for future videos, leave them down in the comments below. Hit that like button. Consider sharing. See you on the next one. Wildlife Entertainment, signing off.